Harry's next. Good evening, Harry.
Evening, neighbor. Evening, everybody.
How are you, sir?
Tired, but we move.
We have to move on with it, eh? Well, Harry, I trust that you had a well, thank you, Jamaica girl. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you guys for all your gifts. Thank you so much. Harry, we're going to do a special program on the budget. So I want to talk to you about that off here, okay?
Yeah, man.
Okay. Harry, what do you think are the factors that are contributing most to the public perception of Wholeness as a strong and effective leader? And how much of this is outcome versus narrative framing? By that I mean, Harry, there is a narrative that has been shaped by media, both traditional and social, and that narrative, Harry, is controlled, and many people believe that narrative. But what are people to believe? Is it that they must look at the performance of the government because it is not in alignment with the narrative? I wonder if you understand the question I've asked.
It's in a neighbor. There are normally a few things that shape the likes of the perception of a government and its leader. And one of the key ones is the economic well-being. And what that is really is the fact that the Jamaicans, the public, have actually trusted Andrew Holness and his administration for 3 consecutive terms in order to handle their business. And to handle their business, it means they make economic decisions that they themselves cannot make on a macro level. Yes. And they see him and his team best suited for the last decade to do so. That is the level of trust that you want to see from a country to its government. In fact, it is one that also ensures that they put the best person and team there that can reduce an economic level type of distress or when it comes on to handling any crisis. And we all know this administration has faced quite a few, and they have dealt with them rather more than commendable, right? Especially with the latter being Melissa recovery, which we're going through now. And say what we may about it from a micro level, and this is the thing that people need to understand. Hindsight is 2020, and everybody who speaks, or most of the comments that are getting, doing the rounds when it comes down to social media, are persons from a self standpoint and a micro level. But if you put them in the grand scheme of things and say, hey, handle the macro issues, they crumble. They realize it is bigger than them. And they will not outright accept it because they aren't put in the position. But so that is the reality.
The narrative framing is designed to undermine the outcomes of the government. In other words, the people are being exploited.
Yeah. And then they'll always try to poke holes into areas. But the whole aspect, when it comes down to economic well-being, you look at the approval ratings, for example.
Yes.
Right? We went through the worst natural disaster in 174 years in the Atlantic. And as such, the approval ratings by global standards more than held firm. That has never really happened to Jamaica before when we face disasters of this nature. Never happened. But for the first time, we've seen that, and I don't think people have appreciated it. In fact, as I saw things where persons are saying the country may seem economically stable and well off, but it doesn't translate to the individuals. And I looked at that and I wanted to comment, but I held back my comment from the individual, because for me, they didn't understand the phase or the life cycle that we're in when it comes on to recovering Jamaica from the abyss that it was put in, right? And as such, these are conversations you have to flesh out for people to understand. And we do this every night. So people are now understanding that, hey, at some point in time, there's a generation that will have to make the right decision, because generations before us were never equipped to make decisions that they did, right? So many, if it was based on performances, then People's National Party would have never received 18 and a half years and shouldn't, right? But we see where people are looking into that. And that leads me to the second point of the competence and performance, right? This is how effective the government and the government agencies are delivering services. Prime example, when we look at the security force, right? They're delivering at the highest level, a level that we've never seen in over 3 decades.
And we are clearly seeing the results.
And we are. And it's being backed fully.
But again, Harry, the narrative framing is designed to make even that look bad. Isn't that hypocritical and light? Isn't this an existential threat, Harry? Almost an existential threat, where this negative narrative framing is being used to manipulate the people of Jamaica.
It is. And the thing about it is, neighbor, is that when you're changing a society from that norm where we are ethically and we were morally corrupt, right? You will find those, whether it be institutions or designs, coming to the fray. They are going to go out swinging. And as such, as we change the moral compass of Jamaica and the social fabric through this government, we're seeing those, I want to call them illegitimate factors and institutions at play, or we can even narrow it down to say individuals, because these are individuals placed strategically in institutions to make the institution look bad, because they're using the resources of the institution that they can command based on their position, and as such try to discredit and bring down the administration. Because the truth is, neighbor, we've not seen the government come under so much attack when there was high scandal in other governments. We never saw that. Right? These were being highlighted. Right?
And now you have people online shouting that this is the most corrupt administration in Jamaica's history. What a piece of I don't even know what to call that. And they can't come and show us where the corruption is. No, how is it that this is the most corrupt government when no member of the cabinet? Well, don't we have institutions like the Auditor General, the Contractor General? Where are those people? It's not for some online blogger to come out and say this. It's part of the framing.
Framing of it, and that is the thing. It is a medium that is framing, right? That is causing the issue. Now, in order to dent it, or rather to go up and ensure that you eradicate it, you have to also be in the same space to do so. Now, the thing about it is that when you demand proof in a period where people are more emotional, they're basing it on how they feel or what they think. How you feel and what you think is never always factual. You have to look at the facts. You have to bring proof, because the thing about it, neighbor, we the sad part about it that comes with this territory is that we're in a social and digital age, and a lot of
Yes,
things get do the rounds a lot faster than ever before.
yes,
Um, and the truth is never sexy. The truth is never one that is sold, because we've seen it in media overall. They sell fear, when anything happens, they bring you in that level. And it is a social construct that has to be removed at some point in time. And it will take time to do so. But where we are in that process is that we have to demand the facts. The people have to demand the facts from every and anyone and any institution that is so bold to come out and attempt to mislead
sorry
people.
about that.
And that is the critical part of it. We have to now move away from the hearsay. Bring me the facts. Let me see it for myself. And if you can't, then remove yourself. That is the level that we have to the next step we have to go into. That is what we have to demand. Because I've seen it, neighbor. People saying a lot of things about to me, who knows the information, I deem it a lot of nothing. Right? But for others who may not have information or probably have the time to do so and do the research, to them, how you package it can convince them. There's a lot of persons we see come out and say things, neighbor, because of either their following or their platform and so on. People take it as gospel, but that is not what should happen. If you look at it, there are institutions that are set up to perform tasks to hold the government accountable, and if these institutions are not seeing what the public narrative is saying, then there's a disconnect. You have to now demand the proof from the source you say. Case in point, the whole thing regarding Chung, when he was getting the position for the FID, right? Director of the FID. The opposition ran with it and skewed the information.
Yeah, I
The
heard Mr.
media,
Bolin even the other day saying that is the prime minister's friend.
exactly. But the funny thing, he's also
part of the narrative shaping.
And the thing about it, the media ran with that, but did not run with when Chung said he's friends with all of them, with Mark Golding and all of them. But the media plays and has an agenda. And as such, if it's not something that they can make money from, or it's not a clickbait or sound bite, then they will continue the corruption of the information for the people. And I say that with I don't want to say with extreme prejudice, we should treat it as such. Because they have also failed the people when it comes on to ensuring that we understand the performance aspect of the government and the competence that is being carried out.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Harry. How much of leadership success is about results in Jamaica, and how much of it is about the story that gets told? In other words, is there a risk that the government's performance is being blunted by the narrative that is out there? Or is it that the government will have to find a way to ensure that its own story is told?
Well, in this period, neighbor, and you'd have heard me say it, we have to protect this legacy. And we have to do so with everything we have. This generation cannot allow the naysayers and the minute few to skew one of the greatest part of our history. This is a recovery and it's almost a repatriation. For me, neighbor, it's almost like a repatriation of our dreams and hopes to be executed.
Wow. Expand on that for me.
When you look at what was taken away from the people by the very system and people they put in place to deliver, and because of that self-interest, right? And technically almost existential, as you put it in that way, right?
Yes.
Is one in which it robbed the people of this country seeing their potential. And that potential is what would have driven Jamaica forward. I said it before.
Yes.
Our biggest resource in this country, we don't have oil, we no longer have bauxite, we don't have gold, silver, diamond. We have the most precious and delicate resource, and that is human resource.
Or people.
When you go ahead and develop that human resource, oil and gold and all of those commodities are nothing compared to the potential that people has in a neighbor, right? They can do things and drive a country forward. Singapore did that, for example. They empowered their people till they've now become a hub in that Central Asia area. And they're a small nation.
Mm-hmm.
And Jamaica, who is better positioned strategically, geographically, we're there. We're literally almost is like a hub between the UK, North America, and South America. That is a perfect place. We could ask God for a better place to be positioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as such, when you look at how the people were robbed, they were given scraps to deliver and live on in terms of executing their dreams. We're in a period now where we're trying to correct that. We're trying to then empower people again, to let them believe that Jamaica is somewhere where we can live, work, and raise family again. And people don't need to take that lightly. I grew up hearing that as a slogan. When I used to hear 2030, I said, well, that is a blind dream. And then
Yes.
we've been given not just the hope, but we've been given an administration that has strapped it on their backs and make it their sole purpose to ensure that they put Jamaica back on its feet, so these people can then go ahead and achieve these dreams. And it's really the repatriation of those dreams. And I think what should happen when we're getting there is that now we should reach a state where we demand retribution from those people that took it. I see a little thing developing on social media, for example, about naming that new hospital in the West, Portia Simpson.
Yes, I heard
and it's
it
garbage.
It is,
right?
It's nonsense. Yeah, absolute nonsense.
These are the things we have to look at, because this is one of the most, when it comes down to transformation and taking the next step into Jamaica's development, right?
Yeah.
You'd have heard me call it that because we're so young, we're in the baby stage and we're going to toddler. This, you have to ensure that we put everything behind it and go into the next step, because we're now getting recognized for our government. Jamaica has never really been recognized for that, and our people are now being empowered to step into a different realm.
Yeah, it's like Lambert Brown in the Senate asking for a raise, and Mark Golden is in the upper house criticizing them. Anyway, let's take a break and come back.